to all the dignitaries and participants to my presentation. I am Soujanya from India, a PhD scholar from Department of Agriculture Economics, University of Agriculture Sciences, GKVK, Bangalore. The topic of my presentation is Changing Pattern in Coffee Production in 5 Major Coffee Producing Countries and India, an Economic Analysis. The introduction goes like this. It is known that coffee is the second largest traded commodity after petroleum, and the major coffee producing regions in the world are South America, that contributes to around 45% of world's coffee production, followed by Asia and Oceania region that contributes to around 30% of world's production, followed by Mexico and Central America that contributes to around 12% of world's production, and finally it is Africa that contributes to around 10% of world's coffee production. In this figure, we can see that the Robusta coffee variety of coffee is being mainly grown in the African region as well as the Asian Oceania part, whereas both the varieties of Robusta and Arabica are being grown in Africa, Asia, Oceania, and as well as South American region, whereas Arabica is mainly concentrated in the South America, Central America, and Mexico, and as well as African region. The major coffee producing countries in the world are Brazil, Colombia, Vietnam, Indonesia, Honduras, Peru, India, Guatemala, Mexico, and as well as Ethiopia also. And coffee market has undergone a series of reforms, and mainly two major reforms were in 1962, which has taken place with regard to the regularization of coffee market, and in 1989 there was this deregularization of coffee market. It's nothing but liberalization of coffee market. So with these two reforms, there has been a major changes in the coffee market. With respect to consumption market, new markets have emerged, and with respect to production market, few countries have gained the share in the global production, whereas few countries have gained and few countries have lost the share in the world's coffee production. So with this background, a study has been made to know the changes in area and production across the major coffee growing countries and India. With respect to the objective, the following methods were followed to analyze the objective. The first one is the exponential growth model. The compound growth rate model was used to analyze the growth rate with respect to area, production, and productivity with regard to major coffee growing countries and India. Then instability analysis using Caddy-Della Valle index. And in this index, this has been classified into several categories, which I'll be showing in the following slides. And next is decomposition analysis using Hazel's decomposition analysis. This analysis mainly shows us how the production is being contributed either by the area change or through the yield change. Coming to the analysis part, this table shows us how signifies the compound growth rate of area, production, and productivity of green coffee in the major 5 producing countries in the world and India. The time has been or the years has been classified into pre-liberalization period, that is from 1961 to 1989, post-liberalization from 1990 to 2020, and the whole period from 1961 to 1989. We see that in case of Brazil, there has been a negative significant growth rate with respect to area, whereas the production has remained positive in both the pre-liberalization and a post-liberalization period. With respect to Colombia, we see that in the pre-liberalization period, there was a positive significant growth rate with respect to area and production, whereas in the post-liberalization period, we notice a negative significant negative growth rate. This is because of the regularization and because of the regularization of the liberalization, there has been price volatility. So farmers are trying to shift from coffee production to other crop production like citrus fruits, etc. And with respect to Honduras and Indonesia, we see that there is a positive significant growth rate in area and production from the pre-liberalization as well as post-liberalization period. And with respect to Vietnam, we see that in the pre-liberalization period, there was a negative growth rate with respect to area, but there was a positive significant growth rate in the post-liberalization with respect to area, and the production remained positive throughout the period. And with respect to India, it shows that India has a positive significant growth rate in both area and production in the pre and as well as post liberalization period. This table 2 signifies about the instability index, that is the Caddy Della Valle index. And here the index has been classified into 3 categories. If the value lies between less than 15%, then it is categorized as low instability. If the value lies between 15 to 20%, it is categorized as medium. And if it is high, if it is more than 20%, it is classified as high instability. So in the pre-liberalization period, we see that except Brazil and Vietnam, all other countries, that is Colombia, Honduras, and Indonesia, had a very less instability with respect to area production and productivity, whereas India lies in all the 3 zones. With respect to the post-liberalization period, we see that even Brazil and Vietnam had tried to attain stability with respect to area production and productivity. And if we look at the overall period from 1961 to 2020, we notice that all the countries are in the zone of high instability itself. Coming to table 3, this table will represent the Hayes' decomposition model. So this signifies the change in average production of coffee in the 5 major coffee producing countries in the world between 1961 to 1990. We see that with respect to Brazil, the average production of coffee is mainly contributed by change in mean yield and not with respect to change in mean area. And with respect to Colombia, we see that the change in average production is influenced by the change in mean yield and not area. And with respect to Honduras and Vietnam, we see that the average production is influenced by both change in mean area and change in mean yield. Whereas with Indonesia, the change in average production is mainly due to the change in mean area and not the yield. And with respect to India, the change in average production is reflected by change in mean area, mean yield, and as well as the interaction between the mean area and mean yield. The contribution, this tables also signifies about the variance of production of coffee in the major coffee growing countries. The previous slide showed about the average influence of average production. This shows about the variance of production. So with respect to Brazil, the variance of production is affected by changing mean yield and yield variance and interaction between mean yield and mean area. With respect to Colombia, the variance of production is contributed by change in mean yield and mean yield variance, whereas with respect to Honduras, this change in variance of production is influenced by all the factors, that is mean yield, area, and as well as variance of yield and area. With respect to Indonesia and Vietnam, we see that the variance of production is contributed by the change in yield variance as well as change in area variance. With respect to India, the change in variance of production is contributed by change in mean area, change in mean yield, the change in area variance, and interaction between changes in mean yield and mean area. So coming to the final conclusion of my study, we would like to say that after the liberalization of coffee market, the Colombia has been losing its share in the coffee production, whereas with respect to Vietnam, it has been gaining importance because Vietnam has from the early 2000s, Vietnam has started including growing of new high yielding varieties, especially with respect to Robusta, converting Arabica coffee production areas to Robusta production areas. And since Robusta production is more,
I think you are probably running out of time, so I think we need to give time for question and answers.
So finally, I would like to say that India has more scope for increasing the area and production because of liberalization. And I thank all my supervisor, the University of Agricultural Sciences, and as well as Dalhousie University for providing me this opportunity.